Hello and welcome to the English Speaking Studio. I'm Jack, your co-host.
And I'm Lucy.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into networking.
Specifically for introverts.
Right. And thanks easy, effective conversation strategies.
It's really good.
It is. And it has some great tips for anyone who identifies as shy or introverted. But one thing that really caught my eye at the beginning of the video was the idea that our brains, like as introverts, our brains actually work harder during social interactions.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think sometimes it's important to remember that, like, it's not just a feeling, but there's a real neurological basis for why networking can feel so draining.
Yes. Like, it's not just me, being weird or antisocial.
Yeah. No, it's a very real phenomenon. You can even think of it this way, like, our brains have different pathways for processing information. And for introverts, those pathways are often, like, a bit longer and more intricate. So in a stimulating environment, like a networking event, our brains are just firing on all cylinders. They're like trying to take in all the information. They're trying to analyze all those social cues and then formulate responses. It's like a mental workout.
Yeah, it's exhausting. So
it is.
What can we do about it? Like, how can we kind of work with that instead of against it?
That's a great question. And the video has some excellent tips for exactly that. One of the first things they mention is preparation.
Oh, I like preparation.
Preparation is key.
Yes.
And it really plays to one of our strengths as introverts.
Yes.
Because when you walk into a networking event and you're feeling prepared, it just kind of automatically decreases that anxiety you might be feeling.
Yes.
And it really boosts your confidence.
Absolutely.
So you're not like scrambling for something to say.
Yeah.
You're ready to engage.
Yeah. Love it.
And that shift in mindset can make a world of difference. One of the tips in the video that I really liked was having a few open-ended questions prepared in advance.
Yeah.
That way you're not feeling put on the spot.
Right.
Trying to come up with something clever to say. You already have some great conversation starters.
What would be an example of an open-ended question?
Yeah. So instead of just asking someone like, what do you do? Which usually leads to a really short answer.
Yeah.
You could try something like, what project are you most excited about right now?
Oh, I like that.
That's bound to get them talking.
It is. And then it gets them to share about something they're passionate about, which is way more interesting.
It is. It is. And it takes the pressure off of you to constantly be witty and charming.
Exactly.
Another tip they mentioned along those lines was to think about how you would answer those same questions.
Oh, that's interesting.
That way you're prepared for that back and forth.
Yeah.
And it keeps the conversation flowing.
Yeah.
Because networking is...
Yeah, it should be a conversation.
It is a conversation.
Not a presentation.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be like, a perfectly rehearsed elevator pitch. It's just having a few key points in mind.
Yeah, I like that.
That you can easily recall and build upon.
That makes sense.
And then one other thing I wanted to touch on about preparation was the idea of setting realistic expectations for yourself.
Okay.
So you don't have to become like the life of the party.
Right.
Just aim for a specific amount of time where you're going to be actively engaged.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, that way it feels much more manageable.
So, like, I don't need to be on the whole time.
Exactly. You don't have to transform into a social butterfly overnight.
Okay, good.
Just find a pace that works for you.
So it sounds like it's not just about the preparation part, but also like a mindset shift?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the video really encourages viewers to reframe networking.
Oh, okay.
As an opportunity for meaningful connection rather than a dreaded chore.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. Think of it as a chance to learn something new.
Yeah.
Meet interesting people, or even just expand your perspective.
That does sound a lot better.
Yeah. And I think when you approach it with that mindset, it can actually become a lot less stressful.
And maybe even enjoyable.
Exactly.
But the video talks about asking questions as like a secret weapon for introverts.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work?
Well, I think it's because we're often good listeners. We're naturally curious. We like to delve deep into topics.
Yeah.
And so by tapping into those strengths, we can guide conversations, make people feel heard, and even come across as more interesting ourselves.
Wow, I've never thought about it that way.
It's true.
So it's like using our introverted strengths to our advantage.
Exactly.
Okay.
So instead of feeling pressured to be the center of attention, you can use your natural curiosity to kind of take the lead and create these really cool connections.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And this is where open-ended questions really shine. Because they allow for more than just yes or no answers.
Right.
You're giving the other person the space to share their thoughts and their experiences.
Yeah. So what are some examples of those magic questions?
Well, some of the ones they mentioned were like, how did you get into your profession? What challenges do you think the industry's facing right now?
Oh, that's good.
And even something simple like, what's been the highlight of your year so far?
That's nice. Yeah, I like that.
It's very open-ended.
It is. But what about listening? Asking questions is good, but we also need to be good at listening.
You are absolutely right. Active listening is crucial.
Yeah.
And the video actually highlights a technique called reflecting back.
Okay.
Which can really help show you're engaged. You basically summarize what you've heard.
Okay.
And then you turn it into another question.
Oh, I see.
So, for example, let's say someone mentions that they've been struggling to implement new budget policies.
Okay.
You could respond by saying something like, you mentioned it's been a real struggle to implement some of those new policies. So how's it going? Have you had any success? And where are you still facing challenges?
Okay, so it's like taking what they say and like reflecting it back.
Exactly.
Okay, I see.
So it shows that you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And you're genuinely interested in learning more.
And that makes it feel less performative.
Yeah.
More like a real conversation.
It is. It's all about finding those points of connection.
Right.
And building rapport through that genuine curiosity and active listening.
I am liking this new way of thinking about networking.
It's definitely a game changer.
It is. It is. It is. It really is. So before we kind of get ahead of ourselves, the video also talks about how good conversations are a two-way street.
Yes, definitely. And I think this can be something we as introverts sometimes forget.
Yes.
We get so focused on like the questions we're going to ask that we don't think about how we'll answer them when they're asked back to us.
Oh, that is so true. It's like I get so focused on like coming up with the questions that I totally forget to like think about what I would say. And then it gets turned back on me and I'm like, oh no, I didn't think about this part.
Yeah, and then you just kind of freeze up.
Totally.
But one of the tips in the video that I thought was really good for that was when you're prepping those open-ended questions, just jot down a few bullet points about your own experiences related to each question.
Oh, that's good.
So you have a few things ready to go.
So if I'm going to ask about like the challenges in the industry, I should also be prepared to talk about my experience with those.
It doesn't have to be anything super formal.
Okay.
Just some key points that you can easily recall and elaborate on in the moment.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you're ready for that back and forth exchange.
Awesome. Awesome. So we've talked about preparation.
Yes.
We've talked about mindset.
Mindset.
The video also mentions the importance of being genuine.
Yes. Authenticity is key.
Yes. So how do we kind of balance like being authentic with also putting our best foot forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Especially in a networking situation where everybody seems so polished.
Right, exactly.
Intimidating.
It can be. But the video actually encourages us to kind of embrace our awkwardness.
Oh.
You know, to even acknowledge it outright.
Okay.
It's about giving yourself permission to be human.
I like that.
You know, with all your quirks and imperfections.
Yeah, because networking can be a little awkward.
It can be, for sure.
Trying to start conversations with strangers, like it can feel a little forced sometimes.
You have to like...
So just being like, hey, this is awkward.
Yeah, I think acknowledging that can actually make it less awkward.
Okay.
Because it kind of breaks the ice.
Yeah, it creates a sense of like we're all in this together.
Exactly. We're all human.
Yeah.
We're all experiencing this together.
I went to this conference a couple of years ago, and I was so nervous
to
talk to people. And then I just decided like, I'm just going to be myself.
Right.
Even if I'm awkward. And people actually responded to it.
It did?
Yeah. Like they appreciated.
That's great.
The honesty.
I think people can sense when you're being genuine.
Yeah.
And they appreciate that.
Yeah, it makes you more relatable.
Definitely.
So it's not about being like some version of ourselves that we think other people want to see. It's just
being you.
Yeah.
And using our strength.
Introverts.
Exactly.
About it.
So we can make networking feel less like a performance and more like
a genuine interaction.
A genuine connection.
Yeah.
I love
So we can use our preparation, our mindset, our genuineness to make networking.
Exactly.
It's scary.
And possibly even enjoyable.
Maybe even enjoyable. I love that.
I know, right?
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive,
what
do you think are like the most important takeaways?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, Well, I would say first and foremost, preparation is key. Having those open-ended questions ready can really make a huge difference.
Yeah, and don't forget to practice your answers, too.
Yes. Be prepared to answer those questions when they're turned back to you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. What else?
Second, I would say it's really about that mindset shift.
You're right.
Viewing networking as an opportunity for connection rather than like a dreaded obligation.
What would be a good way to shift your mindset?
I think just thinking about what you're curious about.
Okay.
You know, who would you like to meet?
Yeah.
What would you like to learn?
Yeah.
And then, of course, embrace your introversion.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room.
Right.
You can use your natural curiosity to your advantage.
And ask those thoughtful questions.
Exactly. It's about making those genuine connections.
Okay. Well, this has been really helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
It's really changed my view.
Networking.
Yeah. It has. Yeah. But even if you do all this stuff, you know, you're prepared, you've got the right mindset.
There's still moments where it can be awkward.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what about those moments?
I think the most important thing to remember is those feelings are completely normal.
Okay.
You know, everyone feels that way sometimes.
Really?
Even like the most experienced networkers have those moments of, oh, this is a little awkward, or I don't know what to say.
So what do you do in those moments?
Sometimes the best thing you can do is just acknowledge it.
Oh.
Like, remember we were talking about being genuine?
Yeah.
I think that can really put people at ease.
So just being like, okay, this is a little awkward.
Yeah, you don't have to pretend like it's not happening.
Okay, I like that.
Just be yourself. Be real.
I always feel like I have to be super confident and smooth.
Yeah.
But maybe it's okay to just kind of let that guard down.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because people are drawn to authenticity.
Yeah.
And when you're genuine, it makes you more approachable, more relatable.
Okay. So any final words of wisdom?
Let's see. For our listener.
For our listener, yeah.
Who's getting ready to go to their next big networking event?
I would say go in with that mindset of curiosity and connection. You know, don't focus so much on what you can get out of it, but what you can learn and who you can connect with.
And remember to actively listen.
Active listening, yes.
Very important.
Just as important as asking great questions.
It's so easy to get focused on like the transactional part of networking. Like, what am I going to get out of this?
Right.
But really...
Yeah, but when you shift that focus to...
It should be about the connection.
Connection, and curiosity.
Well, what about our listeners? What should they be thinking about?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm curious. What are some open-ended questions that you, the listener, could prepare that would be relevant to your field or your interests?
Good question.
So really just think about what sparks your curiosity.
Yeah, because it's different for everybody.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, as we're heading into our next networking event, armed with all this new information.
Yes. Armed and dangerous.
Well, maybe not dangerous.
Okay, maybe not dangerous.
But definitely armed.
Prepared.
Yeah. What should we keep in mind?
You know, it's okay to feel a little awkward. It's okay to feel a little unsure.
Okay.
Just focus on being present. Ask those questions. Connect with people on a genuine level.
And I think that's what we're taking away from this whole deep dive.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that we can all be better networkers.
Absolutely.
Especially us introverts.
Yes.
If we just...
We just have to approach it in a way that feels authentic and manageable.
Yeah.
Even enjoyable.
Even enjoyable. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. I think we all learned a lot.
I did. Thanks for having me.
And we will see you next time.